Good evening, televiewers. Welcome to this edition of Prime at the Last for this week, an edition that is going to be looking at two topics, articles treated by the Guardian Post newspaper last week. One is saying that it is time for IDP mayors, traditional rulers amongst others, to return to the conflict-stricken southwest and northwest regions. Because there is this call for persons who left, who fled the conflict to go back. So the Guardian Post is asking that why should elected officials who are the representatives of the people not take the lead in returning to their respective constituencies and municipalities. We also are going to be looking at another topic which has to do with an article carried still by the Guardian Post that says that 10 divisions may face acute food shortage in the southwest and northwest regions. So we're going to be looking at the possibility, even questioning how these regions, which were considered the breadbasket of the nation, at the point of being threatened of food shortage, what could be happening. We are discussing this with panelists who are seated already in the studio with us. Barrister Achu Julius, who is sitting in for the civilian parties in the studio with me. Good evening, Barrister. We're glad to have you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kum, for inviting me today to come and discuss on these very, very important topics. And I'd like to commend and congratulate the Guardian Post for always bringing good topics which touches the heart of the people. I think today we're going to see how we can contribute to make sure that the crisis in Ozo tampers down and normal life should start.
Okay. We also are in the company through Skype from Bamenda, Northwest Regional Capital, of Baka Derit, who is a journalist, former president of the Cameroon Journalist Trade Union for the Northwest region. Good evening. Baka, we're glad to have you.
Thank you very much. I'm also happy to be with you. Good evening to the entire panel. It's always an honor to join on this very exceptional platform which you provided for us to do the carry out reflections on national issues and more. I'm happy to be joining you on the day we just had an interesting report by a coalition of networks of women organizations presenting some very startling evidence about the realities around armed conflict. And sometimes when you look back, it's like it's a little scary. We're not sure what distance will come and the distance that is still ahead of us. So I'm happy to be with you again, and a very warm evening to all our viewers around the world.
We also are waiting the arrival into our studio of Stephen Mwambo, coming from Boya, Southwest Regional Capital. He's caught in traffic, but tells me that the road has opened up. So he should be with us in the next 5-10 minutes. I'll start with you, Barrister Achu Julius. Time for IDP mayors, traditional rulers, amongst others, to return to their constituencies and municipalities?
Yes, I think so. This is high time we reverse the tide.
Okay.
You know, before today, before these days, there was this tendency of this mass exodus from the northwest and southwest regions in the other parts of the country. We've gone through electoral and democratic processes to make sure we have elected mayors and senators who are supposed to represent the people of their areas. So it is impossible for them to do their job if they're not on the spot. So it's high time for them to go back and stay on the spot and see how they can try with the best of their capabilities to sort out the problems of their people.
Okay. Time for them to go back and sort out. But to say that these municipalities have suffered the absence of these mayors, who, because they are not on ground, they have been working from offices within, say, somewhere operating from Boya, others in Bamenda, others from Yaoundé. These municipalities have been suffering, even villages which with deserted chiefs.
That is very true. The worst one is the chiefs which were not there. Because those are the custodians of the tradition, and we believe very strongly in our traditions, and its upkeep is what makes us what we are. You see, we understand that a group of some of us decided to go astray they picked up guns and caused a lot of confusion and carnage in our own areas. That frightened some of these elected officials to stay on the spot. If whether you like it or not, the ideology that they brought up has failed, and I think it is high time they swallow humble pie to retract from what they've been doing so far. Try to seek ways of getting back reinstated into society by going to the rehabilitation centers. Drop their guns and give a place for dialogue between people. Because what scares people from going back actually is the fact that some known guys are carrying guns and doing what is not supposed to be done in a normal society. For example, they come and threaten people not to behave the way they want to behave. They want to force you to follow their line of action by using a gun. Those things will never work. Those things can work only for a short time, as we realize, but will never work for eternity. So what we need is peace, and we're asking on those guys who are still carrying guns, please, we know some of you don't care about death, but you should know that some of us care about death, and we don't want some of you to die. And because we want some of you to die, we want you to swallow humble pie, drop your guns, and go to the rehabilitation center so that full and 100% peace should come back to our own regions. I also implore those abroad, those in diaspora, who have been very silent, to come out to denounce what is going on, because whether we like it or not, the diaspora has been so instrumental in pushing these kids to carry guns and go to the bushes. But what I'm surprised is the fact that up to date, nobody in the diaspora has decided to say, no, please, it's high time we drop these guns and give peace a chance. Why? Nobody. But when I was asking them, when it was to encourage them to go and carry guns, they put money on the table, and they're encouraging them, and they make governments and those type of things. Why can't you look at it now? Look at it differently now.
Okay. Baka Derrick, how urgent is it for displaced mayors, traditional rulers, amongst others, to come back to their respective constituencies and municipalities as well as villages? Oops, difficult to get through to Derrick. Hello, Derrick, are you there? Derrick is not there. But how urgent is it for these displaced mayors and other traditional political authorities to get back to their respective regions, municipalities, and constituencies?
We all agree that our towns and villages are destroyed. Mm-hmm. The normal life we used to have in those days has been actually shattered. So it's time for us to rebuild. You cannot be a mayor or a municipal councillor or a regional councillor and you preach development or try to do development from afar. Mm-hmm. It is very important that you stay on the spot and see where see where it hurts, see where we need to reform, see where we need to reconstruct, see where we need to change the idea of people, see where we have to affect the lives of the people. You have to be on the spot to be able to see all of that. It is only when you're on the spot that you can easily urge the system in place to bring development to your people. So the urgency is very much alive, because for the past 7 years things have not been very stable. So we really need now, when they talk about reconstruction, it is supposed to be the job of the mayors, the municipal councillors, and the regional representatives. It is their time to go back home and reconstruct the areas which have been destroyed, especially. So the urgency is very much alive. Secondly, our chiefs, the custodian of our tradition, they're the ones who will be making life easy in the villages where real administrative authorities are not there. So you can imagine what is happening in those villages without any leadership. Any society without leadership cannot work smoothly. They need some leadership which can steer the development of the village to transform their villages to what they want. So the chiefs, is an inherent urgency for the chiefs to go back home and rebuild their villages and sit with their people and talk about development. We are tired of this so-called crisis. We are tired of this unnecessary misunderstanding. We are tired of this hatred which is going on. We have to rebuild. So the chiefs have to go back to their palaces, and the allies have to give them the support to make sure they succeed in their in the duties that they are supposed to carry out in their various villages.
But how do we understand the absence from the municipalities? Was it a scare of tax? Because there are persons who have been living in these communities for this while, and the fact that many persons have been called to go back. How do you ask persons to go back to your municipality, to your constituency, to your village, when you yourself, who is like the flag bearer, is absent?
Yeah, the issue is that those who left were people who were not sharing ideas of those who were carrying guns.
Okay.
So they felt threatened. Those who stayed back were either neutral, or they were sharing ideas with those who were carrying guns, or they had enough protection in such a way that they didn't need to go anywhere. So you see, that's the difference. Okay, as of date, we know that those carrying guns and frightening people, their impact is not that much as before. So in certain areas in the northwest and southern regions, there's relative calmness and peace, which means the chiefs and those councillors can go back freely to do their job. Mm-hmm. So that's why we're saying that we know those areas. All of us know what's going on. We know those areas where there's relative peace. Those chiefs should go back to their palaces and run their villages, and those councillors go back to their various towns and municipalities to make sure that life goes on normally under their control.
Okay. Now, if others are called back, the chiefs are not there, will this not also raise some questions in the minds of the people? Because if the government is asking persons to return, and then the chief is staying back in Yaoundé, or the mayor is staying back away, yes, is he not also telling to the people that something is not right? How do you ask us to come back when you, who is our elected representative, cannot be here with us?
You know, it is a very difficult situation to understand.
Mm-hmm, dicey.
It's very, very difficult. But when once you've decided to carry some responsibilities, mm-hmm, you should stand by it.
It goes with risk, eh?
Yes, of course. If you didn't know that it had a risk, you should have gone for it.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that you know that there was this risk and you went for it, you have to stand your stone. Because you cannot tell me that you want to be a senator or a municipal administrator, knowing fully well that the area is not what you think is secure enough for you, and you go.
Election took place during the crisis.
Of course.
So you were going for elections,
yes,
within
crisis
areas that were conflict-stricken.
Yes.
To govern from where?
Because that's why I say you knew the risk.
Yes.
When once you go there, it means that you have the acumen or the intelligence enough to know how to manage yourself in such a situation. Mm-hmm. Because in a crisis, you have to use emergency means to survive. It is like it's some sort of survival. You should know what to do and what not to do, mm-hmm, and how to do it. That's why you're going for elections. Otherwise, you should have gone. By going for it means you know what you're expecting and what you're supposed to do. That's why you even see there's even some administrators who stay there, notwithstanding all what is going on, because it organizes his security and he knows what to do and how to do and when to do and how to move about around the place. That's what we should start doing now. But in any case, the first thing I will tell them is encourage those who are carrying guns and frightening the people to drop them. And to encourage them means you should get means of getting to them to convince them, because in this life, talking face to face is very important at times. It's not only hiding somewhere to talk, which is nice. It's good to talk face to face. As an elected official or an official which is supposed to carry out some duty in certain areas, you are bound to go there and do it. It's a must. So you have to sit down and think what it means. What should I do to arrive at the goal that, because you presented a program to be elected, mm-hmm, you have to follow your program. It is just normal, but now you follow a program till the end or to the best of your capabilities. So we know that it is risky, but at the end of the day, those carrying guns are human beings. They are not animals. At one point in time, a human being can lose his senses of right direction, but will get corrected along the line. We just need to help them to correct their sense of direction, because I don't see why you should force another person to copy your idea about the country when you don't want to have your own, which is different, and you use the barrel of the gun to do that. That's where the problem is. We know that the northwest and southwest region were the most democratic regions in Cameroon, but because of these gun carriers, we find dictatorships everywhere. Everybody wants to dictate what you must accept what he says or you die. Hey, what the hell is all of that? And that's what the problem is. So those guys will not have the mandate to go and do what is supposed to be done for the villages and the towns in the Northwest region to develop, are under the obligation to go there and convince those guys to drop their guns. Those who ask them to take guns, convince them one way or the other. Where can we use some other means of convincing those guys to drop their guns so that you live in peace and security? You should understand that this issue is no longer an issue of having an independent country or secession or whatever. Those carrying guns are now hungry people. They are very hungry people. They are no longer angry as way back in 2017. They have no ideology any longer because those ideologies are either dead or they're no longer there. So they are not those guys who want to survive. So it is important to make sure that we carry out activities for make those guys to survive. For example, I've been crying all over that. I've been crying all the time that look, why can't we make a professional army as is done in the US? That is, if you're a military man, you can be a carpenter, you can be a bricklayer, you can be a bike rider, you can be a taxi man. But if you are based on your ability, you have some military training that gives you some notion of civic education, so you know how to deal and live in society. It's high time we start thinking of things like that to reform the society. Those guys carrying guns now used to carrying guns, but they have one problem: they have no civic information, civic education to know how to manage carrying a gun. But carrying a gun is an art. You have to be taught in the school to be a military man. But as being a military man doesn't mean that all your life you'll be carrying guns. A military man can drop the guns and become a lawyer. Can drop the guns and become a judge. Can drop the guns and become an administrator. Can drop the guns and become a bricklayer. Can drop the guns and sell puff and beans by the roadside and things like that. So it is high time we start thinking of ways of reforming the system whereby we can even include some of these guys that went astray. Because bringing them back into the society and rehabilitating is not going to be an easy task. Though I would like to congratulate Governor Fayengo for what he's been doing so far, which is an excellent. He was so excellent because no military words, he has succeeded in bringing back or transforming a lot of those guys. And some of them are still there being headstrong because I strongly believe that nobody can reach them to talk about this thing. And nobody in the diaspora so far has denounced what they are doing. All Cameroonians abroad, at least one or two should come out in one way or other to denounce what they are doing, that using a gun to impose or express your ideology is not the way to go about it. The only way to go about it in spreading our ideology is peaceful. Form political parties. Sell your ideology to the people. Get elected. And you determine the pace of everything. If you can't do that, you think the power of God will take you anywhere, you're wasting your time. We've wasted our system for the past 7 years. We destroyed our society the past 7 years because we think that carrying the gun was the best. No, sir. We messed up. And as we messed up, it's high time we regroup and see how we can come back to what we used to be. Don't forget that in the West, in the Northwest and Southwest region of former West Cameroon, before 1966, we had about 6 political parties operating as if they were brothers and sisters. So it means the democratic notion was imbibed in us for a long time. Why should it disappear? Why should it suddenly disappear? Why can't we bring back that notion of democracy whereby you have your opinion, I have mine, we exchange and greet each other after heated debates? Why can't we do that? Why can't we bring such a thing back? Why the gun? To me, the gun is what has destroyed our society because it has caused a lot of scare.
Okay, that's caused
and pandemonic.
A lot of scare. But how do we explain that some traditional rulers were away, mayors were away, so MPs and senators were away, but others stayed on? Look at what the mayor Ndu has been able to achieve all these years, even during the crisis. I also understand that the mayor of Wum, Dengambo Anthony, is constantly in Wum working. We see there are some mayors in the southwest and northwest regions who were able to penetrate and were working and living amongst the community members.
Yes, it's because they were enlightened and understood their population.
Okay.
When I say this, is because if you know that if I say you have a large head, it gets you angry, I will not say it. I'll keep quiet when it comes to that.
Okay.
If I know that, I will say that, look, oh, you're a nice looking guy, and it make you happy, I will say it. You see, it is so those are the type of things those guys who are elected officials should understand about the population and manage it. They should be capable of going to those bushes to call those guys, to talk to those guys, or send emissaries to go and check on them, to find out how they're doing, to convince them to stop what they're doing. But you see, we failed in that, not doing that. That's why those who failed not doing that couldn't stand their assault. I know that, for example, the city mayor of Bamenda has always been there. Mr. Choban Paul has always been there. He's never left Bamenda. He's been in the heat of time, in the heat of it, facing it and trying to sort it to the best of his capabilities and abilities. And you know, at the end of the day, everybody respects somebody who's courageous and who can stand insult. What happens is, if you run away from a fight, you always come to fight back another day. And that's what is happening. Those are going back to fight the fight they were supposed to have fought some time ago. Those who are still there don't have any fight to fight because they've already fought it and they know what to do and how to do it, and that's why they're still on the ground. So you know that. So what I'm saying is that if you know that you are a representative of the people, stay with the people, and know that when you are staying with the people, it's not everybody that will agree with you. Somebody on the left, some on the right, on the middle, and you will find the help. But you have to know how to harmonize all those ideas to bring development to your people. That is the only important thing that will matter. For example, if it was the Chinese military making our roads, do you think those guys are going to attack them? Why can't we professionalize the Chinese military to give them enough facilities to do roads where in those dangerous areas where civil guys can't go to? Why can't we do that? It's possible to do it. If the Chinese military is there, that will spur even the guys to admire military men fixing roads. Most of them will drop their guns and to try to join to work. Because I know no messy words, staying in the bush is not a joke. It is not easy. They too want to live a normal life. And most of them are there because they were not living normal lives. If they can find normal lives which will be catered for them and their families, and I guess 90% of those guys will drop those things and come off and will be ready for you and me. And they would like to work to make sure that development comes to our regions. So, Mr. Mayor, those who have left, please, it's high time you think of going back. I'm not asking you to rush back, but I'm asking you to use your sense and guidelines from Almighty God to know how you can go back and manage your people in such a way that all the walks of life, all the different opinions should come to you and you manage them like a proper parent. Because those villages, those towns, they need development.
They need development, but some persons who actually stayed away from their municipalities and communities, were they not also taking this crisis as an excuse to be away?
No, I would not like to go that route because we are in the spur of the moment to encourage them to go back. So if you start looking for excuses, you start looking for reasons why, you might spoil the taste of the soup. So it's better, to me, it's better that we encourage them to go back while telling them that they made a mistake not to have been there. Because once you decide to be the elected official, you are supposed to bear the brunt of wearing the crown. Because you have the crown, you are the one to decide what is supposed to be done, and you are supposed to make your people happy, despite the difference of opinion. I know of some villages where those gun carriers come and visit the palace and still go back without hurting the chief. Why? It's because the chiefs who stayed back were wise enough to know how to manage some of those things. Those things have to be managed in one way or the other, whether you like it or not. So if we have to, we have to bring back our society as a whole. Those mayors and council out of their regions should go back.
Okay. And
face their duties heads on, not by the side, not through other persons, but by themselves. Because I know if they go back, that will be a proper example, because they are the leaders and everybody will follow.
Yeah, some mayors will tell you, some mayors, MPs and senators will tell you that the security conditions are not quite ripe for them to return to these areas, but they were elected under the guns, and
of course.
And if you were to be elected as a mayor for a municipality for 5 years, and we are already into 3 years into their mandate, and you are not going there. How else do you intend to render a service to your municipality? The cases of the MPs also who are sitting in Yaoundé on behalf of the population, what are you telling the nation? What are you defending as representative of your people when you are not there?
That's a real issue, because why did they have to go for elections when they know they couldn't represent the people where it matters? Why? It means they went there for some other purpose except serving their people. Because if I decide that I'm going to live in Bamenda or Santa or whatever, or Limbe, I know the risk I'm taking. And I have to go there because I've decided to do it. So you cannot decide to take that risk and do it, and at the same time, you shy away from the responsibilities that come with it. The biggest responsibility is having a mayor that can succeed to bring his people together. I see the parliamentarian for Donga Matum, Honorable Julangara. He's a proper example. He succeeded in bringing the camp people together, despite the difference of opinion, the divergence of ideas and things like that. He has succeeded in making Donga Matum peaceful. He's not done any magic. He's used his acumen, his intelligence, to make sure, and knowing the people and know how to approach them and what to tell them and how to do it. And that's the secret. If you don't know that, look for advice. I'll advise them to consult those who have succeeded so far, to ask them how they've done it, to repeat, to emulate their examples. Because you cannot tell me that in the Kumbo area, for example, we know Mayor Jong stays in Kumbo, and nothing ever happens to him. Why? He knows his people and he knows how to deal with them. In Kambet, the same. In Womb, the same. But I know that in Bafut is very complicated, different. In some areas, it's very complicated. But those who can do it, copy for those who have been doing it. Because if you don't copy and you think that you are still, the areas are not good for you, not security-wise, resign. You resign. And leave it to those, because I know that people can do it. Resign and give it to those who can do it. They are there. But don't go and occupy a position and you cannot stand it, and you say it's risky. Why do you go there first of all? In the first place, why did you go there? Why do you seek for election in the first place? There are people who are ready to occupy their post.
Good evening. I'm writing from Boya. I just want to say we all know the head and the tail of this crisis, but the truth is politicians don't eat food from the politician. Okay. Good evening to the panel. Their return will be laudable but not feasible, as they are still in danger. The amber thieves, administrators and military are benefiting from the crisis, making its end far-fetched. Fusu is also writing from Bamenda. Mr. Liu, hello. I agree they should return because peace is gradually returning in these areas. The high traffic congestion in Bamenda tells us there is some level of peace. So with the presence of these authorities, I believe the security level will increase. Bisu is writing from Bamenda. Do you agree with what Bisu just wrote?
Yes, I like his assessment, because peace is coming. And it comes with a lot of things, because once the security people know that people are there, they are forced to step up security. But why should they bother when a village is empty? You go and do security when there's nobody. You secure property and goods, yes, but people have to be there to show their property and how to secure them. If you're not there, how are you going to secure everything? As such, I abide the idea of Mr. Bisu saying that life is coming gradually and security will step up. So we're encouraging the mayors and those councillors to go back, increase the numbers of those who administer the people. So many things will change with it.
Okay. Dear Mr. Liu and the rest of the panelists, I wish to let our panelists know that those who are destroying the country are found everywhere. Oops. Those who have committed themselves to never tell the truth are more dangerous than some of the people carrying guns. It is the truth that will build this country. Those who ran away from their palaces and councils knew what they were running from. They will be the ones to determine when to go back. Kwan Jacob, writing from Kumbo. Let's look at the case of our traditional rulers. Was there any need to index our traditional rulers, who are the custodians of our tradition and our culture?
You know, I really say this crisis came from abroad, because those living on the ground never thought of doing it this way. And as those guys were encouraged to pick up guns from because of money from abroad, they didn't take into consideration the consequences of their act. How can you imagine a whole fund of saw is arrested by some riff-raffs together with cardinal and kept, and the Banso people don't say anything? The Banso people don't rise up to defend their fund. The people, I'm talking about the population, they don't do anything to defend their fund. It means that they were supporting those guys, or they were all scared of doing anything because of reprisals. So at the end of the day, if a whole fund of saw cannot be secure, who cannot feel safe in his own village, which other fund is going to feel safe? So that type of question they were asking. But when you turn around and realize that Fonangwafo was in his palace, he died. The present fund is still there. Fund of Bafut has been in his palace ever since, and he's still there to date.
The fund of Kum is there?
The fund of Kum is in his palace, and he's still there up to date, because they uphold the tradition. And as they uphold the tradition, they know that nobody can tamper with the tradition. Because we know that if you misbehave with tradition, there are very, very dangerous consequences, which makes everybody who knows the tradition not to dare to tamper, especially with the custodian of our tradition. So it means that those who were doing those things in some of those palaces were either part of the fundum, or either those who kept, because in every village there's persons who are in charge of security in those villages traditionally. It means either those guys were part of the nonsense and they created insecurity, or most of them decided not to act. Because we believe that if tradition is supposed to be respected, there's no way you can go against it and go scot-free. For example, I used to like, for example, there are very few who could say this masquerade called Juju, called Kwifon. And we knew that if you see it without having been a member or pay your rights to see it, there are going to be consequences. So what is happening that we don't see it again? Was it just a myth, or just a belief, or all lies? You see, those things make us start doubting some of our tradition, that hey, there should be something wrong about it. But in any case, the person who has been crowned the fund has the responsibility of restoring it. No other person can do it on his behalf. The fund of Saw has to go back to Saw and bring back the Saw people as it used to be. Because everybody at one point that was amassing the Saw people, because that's why you see people used to leave their villages to go and get titles in Saw. But nobody, from today, I don't think anybody will have that courage or think about it any longer, to go and admire that culture and try to be part of it. Nobody. So the funds, please don't destroy our tradition, don't destroy our culture. Go back and rebuild. Go and get your notables, those with whom you know manage the village, to make sure that things are put in place so the village becomes what it used to be. Those guys carrying guns cannot be more than you, I believe, if you are a respecter of tradition.
Okay. Good evening, sir. How will the mayors return which they were not elected by the people? Good evening. Good evening, my elders. Let me talk from my own village. Can the chief of Ambo go back to Ambo when these boys are all over the place? Yes, but if these boys are all over the place, for the case of the person who is writing from Ambo village, what is the crime of a fawn? Why would a fawn be considered an enemy? Is a fawn not supposed to be the father of almost everybody? Why attack the fawn?
Yes, that's why I say there should be a problem when the fawn cannot manage even those guys who have a different opinion. The fawn should have a problem. The fawn should think that he is the problem, and that's why they should think of abdicating to give a room for some other person more enlightened who can handle it. A fawn who thinks that thing is more than him should talk in the village, meet his guys, meet the council, and get the person who can do it and leave him there. Because you cannot be there and not there at the same time. If you can't run your people, it means the people no longer love you. If you can't manage your people, it means the people no longer think of you as a fawn. So there's a problem. We should learn, because we're in a modern era, we should learn to read the writing on the wall. That if people don't want you, don't force it. Fawns are despots, yes, But these days they're supposed to be enlightened. And once you're enlightened, you do things the enlightened way. It's like some sort of a pseudo democracy, whereby you realize that your people don't love you. You ask them to get some other person and put it who can do it better than you. And those guys are there. I strongly believe they are there. But you know, nobody it's difficult to send away a fund. But the fund should think of abdicating himself. That look, this thing is more than me. I cannot be there. I cannot handle it because I can't control X and Y. I can't control B or D and whatever. And he said, look, I pull out and give it over to you. To the mayors, it's the same thing. We have always been. It is true that the present law on decentralization, or the present law with the special status given to North and South region, is not yet full. I agree with that. But if you look at it, we can make it look better and give more autonomy to our people. The mayors are the bosses of each town where they find themselves. All the administrative authorities are under their control. So all they need to do is bring in that aura to show leadership for all the administrators to follow you. You are the one to give instructions to the police, to the DOs. You are the one to take care of the health services, the education, and all those things. You are the one. You are the boss. You've taken over from the DOs. The DOs have merely representative status when it comes to reaction with the government. But when it comes to actual functioning, it's supposed to be carried out by the mayors. So they have that power that they still don't know. Until you go to the field and use it, you will not know that you have the powers. Because the mayor is the boss of the town.
Yeah, but we also are aware of the fact that, irrespective of the fact that we are in a crisis situation, there are mayors, there are MPs and senators who have never actually lived in their constituencies or municipalities, even before the crisis. How do we explain this? Because at the time they were applying to become either mayor, for the positioning of mayor or MPs, there are dispositions that shows that you must be resident either in the municipality or constituency. Before the crisis, there are persons who actually never lived in these areas. How do we understand this?
Exceptional situations call for exceptional solutions. Maybe at the time they were calling for candidacies, very few were available. Those who were interested, those who could be interested, maybe couldn't meet up with the conditions, because no mixing words. There are certain positions that you need to be financially very powerful. So it goes without saying that it's not only the most financial, it is not only the financially viable person who can be the best leader. It is possible that people who could fit that shoe or wear that cap, who don't have the means of making paperwork to apply for that job, so they were not available. So those who had the possibilities did just that. And once they are doing control over applications, at times administrative tolerance allow certain issues to go by. Most especially if there's no opposition. Most especially when there's nobody engaging a case to have it cancelled and things like that. Because you know, if you sit on your rights, nobody will come and move you. No one can remove you from where you're sitting. So for your rights to come out, they will leave you sitting on it as you like. And maybe that should be the possible explanation. That in those areas where mayors are very far away, mayors and senators and parliamentarians are very far away, it should be those exceptional situations.
Exceptional cases, Barrister, how do you take up a position where you know that you cannot live in that community? Because you say it's exceptional, but how do we? Municipalities are made up of thousands and thousands of persons, both constituencies. How do we get people to become mayors, senators, and who are not residents in these areas?
First of all, you have the rules and regulations how to become a mayor, a parliamentarian.
Yeah, it stipulates that you should bring a document that shows that you are a resident. Yeah.
Yes. What document do you bring? The fact that you go to a DO's office, you show him your house, that look, this is where I live, and he signs the documents, and you take it and file in your, put in your file to apply. Most of those guys have homes and houses in their villages or in the town or where they've applied. Most of those people have. The only problem is that for so-called security reasons, they don't feel safe to stay there with their family. That's the reason.
Yeah, but yes, they may not feel secure to live there now that the crisis is ongoing. We are talking about the situation even before this crisis. We know so many of them who never lived in their municipalities and constituencies. They lived either in Yaoundé or other places, yet they were mayors and MPs either in one of these municipalities.
I don't know any.
Is it right? Is it
I don't know any, but I don't think it's proper that should happen. That's why we are, because that's the reason for a topic like this. It is high time to go back and take their responsibilities. It is high time. Staying out of it means running away from your responsibilities. And if you know you cannot handle such a responsibility, resign.
Okay.
It goes too for chiefs. They should abdicate. You cannot have a village, you abdicate. Why are you doing it down? You're a chief of a certain village, but you find yourself elsewhere, you cannot go back. It means you're not chief enough. You abdicate.
Okay, you abdicate. I don't know whether it is possible for a chief to abdicate. Hi, it's Favor writing from Bamenda. That is true, Barrister, what you are saying. Good evening, Mr. Leo. I'm Joel from Kumba. Peace is returning, but Cameroonians' problem is that they are hiding the truth they're hiding the truth. Because for the mayor, councillors, and etc. to return to their localities, they need to talk to the gunmen, because Cameroon is not to be trusted, because they are putting their own life in a big risk. So let them forget about returning if there is no peace. The government knows what the people need, so let them stop all the talk about returning, because if there is peace, nobody will tell anyone to return back to their localities. Good evening, Mr. Liu. The barrister is tactfully refusing to admit that the traditional rulers who have left their palaces decided to become politicians. What is a crime for a traditional ruler to be a politician? But is it also proper? Isn't it better for a traditional ruler to stay neutral, that is, actually play that role of a father to people from all walks of life?
A traditional ruler is principally a politician.
Okay.
Because he manages the politics in his village.
But he should be a politician for all the parties.
Sure. Yes. So you manage the politics in your village. That's a traditional ruler. Otherwise, if you are not a politician, you cannot rule as a traditional ruler. You can't.
Yeah, but we're talking about party politics here.
No, he's by excellence a politician, first of all. But when it comes to party politics, he has a right to choose the party which he likes and follows their line of action. But again, he should be capable of distinguishing between party politics and ruling as a traditional ruler. He has to be capable of doing that. If you can't do that, then you are no one. You are not fit for that chair. You should know what to do and how to do it to manage your political alienation and the fact that you are the ruler of your village. Okay. You should be capable of managing that, because you are a politician par excellence.
Okay, I've been told that Baka Derek is back online. Baka, can we move on, please? Just indicate if you are there. Hello, Baka, are you there? Please, can you unmute? Either, I don't know whether you're using a phone.
I'm saying I'm here. It's a different table now.
Okay. Yes.
Yes. No, I'm not using a phone.
Okay. The Guardian Post newspaper is of the opinion that it is time for our municipal authorities who are not living within their municipalities in the northwest and southwest regions to return, as well as traditional authorities. What is the feeling amongst the people out there in Bamenda?
Well, I mean, let me first of all start by a very quick reaction. I've been following Barrister Ashu, but let me say we cannot undermine the love of the Saw people for their culture and tradition by saying that it is nothing when their phone was taken by non-state armed groups. That is not true. I mean, before he was granted his freedom, there was a lot of work. We actually went for protests and march, and all of that. So it would be dishonest to say that the people of Saw did nothing when their traditional ruler was taken by armed men. That's it. I also want to quickly note that we have been of the opinion that a traditional Bamenda, our funds are by no means supposed to compete with their subjects, and this implies everything, including politics. Of course, you agree with me that as soon as my fund competes with me for an election, and I'm able to beat him, it will definitely mean I am trying to look for a position in the village, who are now seen to be a hero above the fund, whose office is divine, and whose office is expected to be supremo to every other office in terms of the culture and traditions of our people. We cannot now begin to sound on television as if we are trying to undermine the office of our fund. It will be a fatal error to do so. That's it. Let me very quickly commit to you that I have three very quick observations on this subject of whether they should return or not. First, why did they leave? Some of them left because they found the place unsafe enough and their lives were threatened, and some of them left. And some of them left. Two, some of them, we cannot actually say with authority that their ascension or their coming to occupy some of the various positions they were vested or were based on the choices of the people, or they followed the right procedure, or they respected the norms and traditions of the people to ascend the office of those traditional authorities. Let me also very quickly note that some of our people who assumed the office of leadership were simply not intended to be leaders, and at the slightest opportunity, they want to escape for places they have called greener pastures. This happens even to our people who are in government, because even at the slightest headache, we see them run to hospitals in the diaspora to seek for health care, which is obvious that they would have provided the same health care in their community. These are the three things I want to do, and from there, let me come back to make the analogy to say that if these people left because they never got the support of their people when they were getting in this office, then we can agree with me that point number one, they were never leaders in the first place. Point number two, we cannot take people who are interested to mean that they are far better than those left. Those left is shown, for one reason or the other, have received either a protection of their needs or they are found a way to protect themselves in that. And these are things that other people have not been able to get. So should be asking these men, these funds, who I don't want to compare their functions. I think that I should not rank the funds in the same category in which I rank men and parliamentarians, because the politics of the dark may even chase some of them out without people getting them out. And they were political parties who, and to keep power from the one who the funds in this funds have a different question of their own to answer to their to administration, because in traditional mental or the gift or the prefer or whatever you call it is exactly what questions the authority of the folk, and there's no can play. And these folks will not start those decisions when the time comes. But the politicians, of course, the interest is never even to serve the people. Sometimes in life is going to steal for the state, get some little money for themselves, and this is exactly what the Christ has afforded them the opportunity to do. So they must simply just appear. They are both structure in town, they are settled because in their mind, the detail was never possible. So the idea of them coming back would depend soon on the relationship which they have with people and also how to serve their people.
Okay, thank you, Baka Derek. We hope that the network gets better. Stephen Mwambo from Boya, Southwest Regional Capital, is in the studio with us. Thank you, Stephen, for joining. And your first take on the need for IDP mayors, traditional rulers, amongst others, to return to their respective municipalities and constituencies.
Good evening, Mr. Liu. Good evening, sir. I'm glad to be here. Sorry I was caught up on traffic, but I'm happy I'm here and to contribute a little quota in nation building, in making our very beloved nation more adorable and bring peace, of course, which is highly needed in the country. I think the issue about IDPs, lawmakers, chiefs, and mayors and of course civil servants returning to base is a serious issue as far as the southwest and northwest regions are concerned. Particularly, I like to group them into 3 different persons. First, the IDPs. These are just normal Cameroonians like you and I who were doing their farming, their little businesses, and so on and so forth to survive. And because of the war, of course, no human being is made of plank. So because of the fear of death and the consequences which we all know, especially for somebody like myself coming from Boya, it was necessary for people to move away.
Okay,
now
we're coming back to you. You are putting on a green screen, so we have issues with that. But Baka Derek and Bomenda found some issues with what you said, especially they considered that you to some extent undermine the place, the position of the traditional rulers, and that before we talk about the need for these guys to return, we should first and foremost look at the reasons why they left in the first place. I'm sure he's talking about the serious security concerns that motivated their departure from their respective municipalities and constituencies.
I don't like to look at it from that angle.
Okay.
Fonangwafo was the first vice president of CPDM. He has never left his palace. Never. Fonabumbi Obafut was a member of Central Committee of the CPDM. I don't know if he's still there, but he used to be. He has never left his palace. There are so many other funds who have never left their palaces. The fund on Kambe and never left his palace. The fund on Du never left his palace. We can name them. Coming down to the southwest region, there's so many of them that will know. I've never left their palaces. They even installed a new fund in the Paramount Fund of the Bakweris. Was installed in the height of the crisis. He has never left his palace. For Mukete, the former and the new, have never left their palaces. This means these guys have been the real custodians of the culture and the traditions of their people in such a way that even these gun carriers couldn't adventure to destabilize them. They were scared. You can imagine that they remember that the road to go to the first palace is very dangerous because of those guys. But the palace is very secure. Nobody goes there. They will never touch him. So how do you explain that? How are they doing it? I know that the fund of Bali, at one time was in the palace till I don't know what happened for him to leave. But how do the others do? So that's why I say that. That's what I'm saying. I said they need to ask those guys, what is the secret? If you don't know, learn from somebody who knows. I'm not undermining the force of our tradition or whatever, but I'm undermining the fact the misuse of that power, that traditional power. By running away means the power is not strong enough to keep you on the seat. That's what I'm saying. But if you're on the seat, you can stand your salt with whoever. I know the fund of Chomba too never left. The fund of all around the background area, none of them left their palaces. All of them were there. How did they do it? Is it not? Are they not funds too? Those who run, if you think you can come back, go and ask for the secret and learn from those who will be on the spot. For example, the fund of Babungo is his palace. Those guys cannot dare, despite the heat which is around the area. The only the powerful fund that will know that run is the fund of Saw. Why? There's a reason. So all the fund needs to do is, I know they have a union. Why can't they come together to share some of those things, to be capable of harnessing the tradition in such a way that it is not it's not walked upon by riffraffs? Because don't mix it words, I always say it. Those guys carrying guns are riffraffs because they respect nobody. If you don't share their opinion, they kill you. If you don't follow their road, they kill you. They have no other alternative. Why? A human being is not supposed to be like that. That dogmatic in such a way that no other sense can get into your head. I mean, if you that time will be, if you are stereotype and you are like that, it means you are stupid. You are riffraff. And we allow them to challenge our funds, to cause insecurity, and the funds, they leave it. They don't fight back. We know the funds have those backs, the backs of the village. Where are those backs? What are they doing with it? Have they destroyed it? Have they become Christians? You can know some funds these days, like few Christians, that the tradition no longer mean anything to them. Or what is going on? And that's where the problem is. Did they usurp the throne? Because that's what, because you have to ask those are the type of questions I ask. I don't want to ask why you left, because you're not supposed to leave, no matter the reason. If it means you have to die, you die there. They'll kill you on your throne, on your seat. And the person who does that is supposed to be aware of the consequences on him and his family.
Okay, Mr. Liu, evening, let's not deceive ourselves. Yes, most councils hold their council sessions in their council areas under tight security, but where do they operate daily? They bring the media to deceive the public. Remember that two council has abandoned their structure in Chobo using the Mezam Agri premises for over 3 years now. Bafut is lodged opposite the Bamenda prisons. Andek is renting upstation, sharing the same building with Eneo. Bali is renting an apartment opposite the magistrate court in Bamenda. Belu, Fundong, Nsungkikang Mwa are operating in rented apartments in Kwen neighborhood. So who is fooling who? Yes, Stephen Mwambo, you were developing something.
Yes, I was actually saying that when we talk about this return to basis, we need to consider a lot of factors. For instance, the IDPs. Now, in as much as this crisis has brought a lot of destruction, blood, and regret, there is also a positive factor, or so many positive factors as a result of this crisis. For instance, Cameroon is being blended. That's what I always say, because you have a lot of Anglophones who had never lived in Francophone zones. We had a lot of them, those IDPs. They are in Bonaberi, they are in the east. Some of them have opened their cocoa farms. Some of them are doing their little businesses. You have them in places like Edea. You go to the west region, there are so many there. Now, if you ask that they should return, where are they returning to? We have, for instance, the Commission for the Reconstruction. We have lots of villages which were being burned. Have their homes been rebuilt? Is there enough security for them to go and live a quiet life which they are living here? Even if they are not that economically powerful as they were before, even if they are not, obviously everybody wants to be at home, but you will not be at home where you are insecure. So that's why they move here. So going back, some of them have established themselves this way. Some of them are scared. You know, there are memories of terrible things that happened as a result of the crisis. And some people going back to those villages, you may have to suffer depression because you'll be thinking of a mother, a father, a brother, a sister, an uncle who died, who was killed probably by stray bullets or by amber boys and all of that. And so it's difficult for some of them to go back. And of course, we have the extortion and exploitation by both the military in some cases and the amber boys. If you live around places like in the northwest or even in the southwest, you have checkpoints mounted up by amber boys, probably some 200, 300 meters away from the military. You have to give support whether you want or not. You have to give, you go to the military, you give, you are doing businesses, the cost of transportation. Of course, many of these persons were farmers. Now you go and harvest your 2-3 bunches of plantain from the farm, and to transport it maybe to a market where before you pay 500 francs, now you have to pay 2,000 francs. So many people, because of this, the IDPs particularly, don't feel the need to return. And of course, the elected officials, they are not there. So if they are not there, why should they, the normal person in the street, be confident enough to return?
Yeah, but that's the question I asked already. We discussed about that.
Yes.
If the elected officials, because you raised an issue that, okay, they are not there because of issues of insecurity, but they were elected in the midst of this crisis.
Yeah.
So when you were going in to be elected as a mayor, a senator, or an MP for a constituency or municipality in the heat of the crisis 2018, how did you hope to manage your municipality? What were you expecting?
Of course, that's the reason why I told you initially I divide these people into 3 groups. The IDPs, who are the masses, and then you have the civil servants, for instance. You have lots of them who are not in their bases, and of course they are happy about the situation. That I can tell you for a fact. Most of these civil servants, even in areas where we enjoy relative peace, they begin their weekends on Thursdays. And they are so happy about the ghost towns on Mondays. So from Thursday to Friday, their weekend goes up to Tuesday. They have 2-3 days of work. Some of them don't report in their places of work. And the DOs and the persons under which, the ministries they are under, they know about this information. Some of them ask them for monies. When they want to sign, they have some commissions, some monies that have to pass maybe through the GO and the rest. They ask them to pay. Some of them momo monies to their delegates. We know about this fact. And they don't want to return because what? They are taking their salaries, they are doing their businesses in Douala, in Yaoundé, in Bafoussam, in Boya, in Bamenda, where there is peace. And they don't want to return to the hinterland, if I may call it that way, because they have enough time to do their businesses. They have free salary. I call that free salary which they are receiving. And of course, the crisis should continue as far as they are concerned. Now, the other group is the elected officials that we have, the mayors, the parliamentarians, the senators. As of the senators, I will even say, well, their elections had to do with, of course, councillors. So the people were not really involved in electing them. Now, if you are a mayor, if you are a parliamentarian, and of course, you won elections, and you cannot live where you won elections, who voted you? That's already a clear proof to tell us that elections were stolen. Because if people voted you, of course, that was because you were available and they trust you, if we should take by your word, as someone who says he or she won elections. Now you win elections where people have accepted you. There was a universal suffrage. They gave in their votes for you and you cannot live there. Then we should be questioning the election process itself. We should begin from there. So these persons, especially the parliamentarians, some of the mayors are there. That's the truth. Some of them are there. We know a lot of them who are there and trying to do some great work. But persons like the parliamentarians, we don't see them. And that's why I'm even happy about the 2023 budgetary session that had, and this micro project monies that were given to them was suspended, because for the past 6 or 7 years there are you may not count 3 parliamentarians from the southwest and northwest who have done work with those monies. If they themselves are not living in their constituencies, how do they use the monies that were given to them for micro projects? So it's a sham, it's a shame, it's a disgrace to this our politicians and our so-called representative of the people, because you cannot be a representative of the people and you are not there. You are not there. Who should be there if you are not there? What do you discuss in parliament? Because the representative of the people obviously carries the problem of his constituency, his or her constituency, to the parliament for discussion. What do you discuss in parliament if you are not living where the constituency is? So this is a clear indication. This crisis comes to expose a lot of things that politicians had been doing. And of course, if the crisis is even went to this level, is because these persons never told the truth. if they were with their constituency, if they knew their people, some of these grievances that people came to express in another form would have been channeled to the right authorities, would have been channeled to the right path, would have been discussed, there would have been dialogue before the one that we are all craving for today. And of course, we cannot have it today because of, even at the level of the secessionists, there is fragmentation at every level. They practically, I don't know if they even know what they are even fighting for, because they are just scattered and they keep punishing the people who are even in those our constituencies, who are in those villages, trying to bring back life to normalcy. So like I was saying, Mr. Liu, our representative are not our representative, because if they were, they will be in our constituencies. They will be working with their people to see how to ameliorate the education, the health care, to see how we can cohere back again, we can come together as a people. And of course, we have our traditional leaders. I know you must have mentioned that, as my fellow panelist was talking about. I want to say that as far as traditional rulers are concerned, there are some differences that sometimes in making analysis we must look into those. For instance, we have fandoms in the Northwest. From time immemorial, they were very powerful, very organized. And it's not the same thing that obtains in FACO. And if we take the early days of the crisis, for instance, I'll take Boya municipality, for instance, where you had chiefs that were being kidnapped. Some of them were tortured, some of them died. And of course, there are many of those chiefs who are no longer in their villages because of what happened. So if you go to a place like Fako, you go to a place like maybe Bali, Bafut, it's a different thing when you speak to the chief and the phone, their experiences which they will give you are a bit different. But I think that more of our chiefs are not in their villages because they had involved themselves into politics. If I were to advise most of them, I'll tell them to be apolitical. If I were to do that before the crisis, and even now or after the crisis, the chiefs should stay away from politics. I sometimes blame the government because the situation of our country has pushed a lot of them to go to the CPDM, a lot of them, because maybe there are more favors that will come in, and some of them, even to become chief, you have to go to Minad and the rest, and to sign your documents there, you need to knock some doors, and most of those doors, when you want to knock and you have the CPDM, it can be opened easily. So our chiefs involving themselves in politics, rather than being the custodians of our traditions and culture, and of course, being a melting point whereby everybody in the village, whether you have the CPDM, you have the SDF, you have the PUS, can meet them, it becomes challenging.
Our traditional rulers are not supposed to belong to any political party because he is for everybody. My late phone used to tell me that the palace is for everybody and all parties have the right to come and do their campaigns in the palace. Greetings to you all in the studio. I'm Eric writing from Muyuka. Please, my dear Cameroonians, do we still need more blood? Because sending traditional rulers to go back is like you are already killing them, because we know what those boys are capable of doing. Yeah, but the question is, why kill traditional rulers? Hello, Mr. Liu. I agree they should return because peace is gradually returning in these areas. The high traffic congestion in Bamenda tells us there is some level of peace. So with the presence of these authorities, okay, traditional security is going to be up. I read that already. Good evening to the panel. Their return will be a good thing, okay? Good evening, Mr. Liu. The barrister is very tactful in all his delivery today. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm Joel from Kumba. Peace is returning, and we hope that it stays like that. Good evening to you all, sir. Official do not want to go back where... Okay, officials who do not want to go back were not elected by the people. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm Achu Muye from Bengui. It's easier said than done. Mr. Achu Julius is in Douala talking, requesting funds to go back to their palaces. Okay, I doubt whether he can go back to Santa. Good
Make me
evening.
fun.
Okay, he says that make him a phone and you'll see him in Santa. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm Nick in Kumba. The phone of Eswata has never been to his village since the start of this crisis. You can't even recognize the palace or differentiate it from the nearby houses. He doesn't even care how his people are doing. Good evening, sir. I thank the barrister for mentioning about a mayor taking the lead for the administrators as deals to follow. 2 weeks ago, I was very much discouraged when a divisional officer followed a car from Bambili to Bambui until this driver bumped into a soya cellar where his car caught fire. So my question was, has the deal become the city council mayor? I don't know if some of these administrators actually know their job description. Lukong writing from Kumbu. The crisis may seem dying, but for us who have been here for 7 years are the ones feeling the pains. The mayor and all those in government can use their military and come and go, and the amber and military are torturing the common man like us. So I asked them to help and solve the problem. Mr. Liu, if we request the people of Kwakwa to return to their homes, where would they go to when their houses were burnt down? Good evening, Mr. Liu and the panelists in this studio. I wish to say that the decision to return to their respective bases depends on the severity of the conflict and the safety of the individuals concerned. The IDP lawmakers, mayors, and traditional rulers should prioritize their safety and that of their constituents before any other consideration. If there is a perceived threat to their safety, it may be wiser to stay away until the situation is better under control. Imam Khalid is writing from Bonaberi. Good evening, Mr. Liu. The phone of Babungo cannot come to his palace except being accompanied by a military convoy. Mr. Liu, what I think is some people are fortunate in this crisis. Let's not focus just on the funds and chiefs. Of course, some people have not left as well as some funds. Good evening, Mr. Liu and the panelists. Your program is very educative. Keep on. Our senior barrister speaks well. But this is the time for we want peace. These boys in the bushes are our sisters and brothers. That is there is no use insulting them. J-Boy is writing from Bamenda. Hello, Prime R. A nice day today. I think the truth is to bring another dialogue. Okay, Barrister Achu Julius, you get what the panelists are saying. They say it is time to bring everybody on the peace table to understand. But even when we want some MPs, mayors, and the rest to go back, is there no need to also guarantee security for them? Because the situation is also not too assuring.
To me, those are the people to guarantee the security of the population. On the contrary,
okay, they are supposed to.
They are supposed to guarantee the security of the population. On the contrary, because they are there to serve, not to be served. You see, I have a different when I see, if you want to be a fund, stay a fund. If you want to be a parliamentarian, be a parliamentarian. If you want to be a mayor, be a mayor. You know the risk. You know what you're going into for. You're going into. When you are there, don't shy away. I know that most funds left because of hunger. We're not mixing words. It's not easy. The funds these days are not like the funds in those days. Because I remember a fund in those days can just come to your house and take a goat and take to the palace and you will say nothing. These days the fund has to live like a normal human being, which means he has to work to earn a salary to be capable of taking care of his responsibilities. Most of them left because of that. The villagers no longer take care of the chiefs like before. So when a fund stays in the village alone, all allies have gone, nobody will help him, he too has to go and follow. That can be one of the reasons. But again, what do we do now? Now is a time as everybody wants peace, one dialogue. Where is the best place for a dialogue in our community? Is it not in the palace? the best place for dialogue begins in the palace. I am very certain that if the fund who is a fund calls anybody to come to the palace, the person will go. And that's where the fund gets its respectability. If the fund shies away, those funds, they shy away from that responsibility. Who else can take that initiative in a village? When the fund, there's some funds that even invite the administrators to come to the palace, and the administrators go. Why? Because the fund has that aura and has maintained his stance on certain issues where his respectability gives him the honor. So when you go to that fund, you're going to, it's an honorable idea, an honorable thing to go to the fund because you know you're an honorable man. So if the funds don't take their responsibilities and go back to the palace to start this dialogue that everybody wants, because in the villages we have what we swear into when we are taking certain decisions. We have a way of doing it in every village. Every village has their own style. It is for those funds to do that, to take it because they're the nearest of the administration to the grassroots. And this crisis is a grassroots crisis. Because if you want to find out, those who are in the bushes were people who were common people, not actually administrators or workers or civil servants or whatever, or responsible people. Let me put it that way. So it was a grassroots issue. So those funds should be the best bet for them to start a dialogue from their palaces. So you start by going back and face their devil. Because if a fund runs away from his devil, who else will go back to that village? Let them be the example. Then, you know, my friend talked about IDPs going back. One thing is certain: Cameroon has become more indivisible than ever before because of course. There are so many
intermarriages
that come this way who are married and will never go back except to go and visit. There's so many. I can say 50%. You will never go back. And there are so many that are making it this way in such a way that they can never make it that way. So why go? So the persons who can go back have an interest that there should be peace, to encourage others to come. It starts from the fund. This fund should go back because a fund never dies, a fund will disappear, and another one comes. That is our tradition. So they shouldn't be scared of security or whatever. They should stop that. But once they have that courage, everybody's going to have that courage. You know, these guys who come from the bushes, they are humans too. They've done horrible things, yes. But I can bet you, a normal human being cannot see an innocent person and kill. A normal human being. So the state in which they come and do those things, where they were most of them done in the state of human beings, they must be drugged, or alcohol, or tramadol, or cocaine, or whatever, to be in that state to kill an innocent person, behead that person, cut fingers. You must be abnormal to do that. Normal human beings can never do that. So at times I will hear those guys when they go back to the bushes, when they hear what they've done, they cry. But they're in it. Some of them are stuck, and they need help for them to come out. I'm very happy. There's a guy that I watch all the time called Clovis, who's in the DDR center in Boya. He's doing a marvelous job. I would like to commend him too. He's doing a marvelous job in convincing his brothers who are in the bushes with him to come out. That don't be scared. Because when they were scared of coming, that they come out, they'll be killed. But they don't understand. They have to understand that the DDR center is their best bet now on earth. Because even after this crisis, because it's almost getting over, if they're not in those centers, there will still be social misfits. Because the vendetta of this crisis will continue. Because if I know that this man from this comma killed my father, I will keep it. But if they don't rehabilitate that person to be capable of living in society, to come and say, please, forgive me, I'm sorry, the vendetta will continue. And they'll be killing even after the crisis. So to me, the best bet for these guys carrying on is drop this thing, go back to the centers, and by so doing, by your act, people will feel sorry for you and forgive you.
Okay, Stephen Mwambo, for chiefs, MPs, and mayors who are not in their respective communities today, shouldn't they actually solicit for greater security? Though Barrister thinks that they are the ones to provide security for the members of their communities.
I will turn the question. They should seek for security for who? For themselves or for their people.
They are not there because they are afraid of their lives.
Of course.
Police, the mayors have right to correct municipal police. What is that? Is that no more security than security?
The truth is more complicated than we are talking here. If you have seen some of the things these guys have done, I mean, you have foul skin. You don't even want to imagine yourself into such situations. But however, it will take human beings to solve this crisis. And like Barrister puts it earlier, if you went in for elections, the senatorial just passed, and some people stood for their constituencies, it means that they have responsibilities which comes with those new statuses that they are carrying. If you are a senator, if you are a parliamentarian, if you are a mayor now, you are not me. You are not me talking here. You are not a common villager. You have another status, and you have responsibilities to carry. And of course, I asked this earlier, if you cannot be there, because, well, let's take that there is fear. But have they created other avenues through which their constituents can channel issues, can channel problems to them? Have they created other channels through which they can bring development, they can bring assistance to their people? They are not there. You see them maybe when a big gun dies or there is campaign, they'll enter Amoka and go to the villages. It means that they see the need of going there at that moment. So why not see the need of creating some form of dialogue, especially from our villages? We are in divisions, subdivisions, and the like, and small villages. Some of those villages in the southwest and northwest, they are enjoying relative peace because there was some level of dialogue. Well, it may be illegal from the level of the state, but I'm sure the state puts a kind of blind eye to it. They are chiefs who have called Amber Boys, and they have discussed that, okay, let us live in peace, and maybe we'll be giving you people some rice, bags of rice, and they are all strategies to bring people to a talking point, and that's what is important. And if you, as the parliamentarian, as a chief, you are not available to hear people, because sometimes even to bring security back or stability, even these guys in certain villages, they have some conditions that they are channeling. There are some of them who want to even go back to the DDR. Who helps them to go there? Because it will be easier with the chief being a liaison. Of course, the chiefs are auxiliaries to the state to help them. So what I will suggest, just like Barrister said, is going back to your people. It may not be physical for those areas where there is still that high tension, and of course we know the crisis has brought a lot of score settlement and envy and jealousy, but there should be other channels created. But I think our chiefs in particular can handle this thing in their little corners, in their small villages, divisional levels, even up to the regions. And of course our parliamentarians, our representative, of course they were voted, and to prove to us that they were voted, should be available, dialogue with the people, and by so doing, I'm sure the state will come in and help to really bring back some level of security in our regions.
Yes, but now when you stay away from your constituency or your municipality for so many years, and what balance sheet are you coming back to present to the people for a possible re-election? Because we've gone past midway most of the mandates.
That's the more reason I was telling you that we need to be questioning how these people came to power, because of course there were elections this same year. 4 years, I think 2018, there were elections. The crisis had started
already.
Yeah,
in the crisis.
They receive grants from the parliament and all of that. They have budgets, and you ask yourself, what have they implemented? So we begin by questioning that, because it's clear proof that everything being equal, the election cannot be trusted. The results cannot be trusted. Either they were falsified, or there is no or. That's what happened. But they are already our representative, and of course it's in the next, after the next election, that we'll have others. So if they are there, if there is no balance sheet, they should start preparing themselves to make us to bring us another balance sheet by the end of their mandate in 2025, hopefully. So that's the only thing they can do as balance sheet now. We don't even need their development. We want them to come and dialogue with the people and let life begin, and we'll develop our communities. Yes. Let them just come and dialogue and bring peace.
When you are a mayor who is not living with your people, you are a senator who is not living with your people, or parliamentarian elections, you were elected. You claim to have been elected by the people, so you are an elected representative of the people. And the people will be expecting that you come back to tell them what you did with the mandate they gave you. Are you going to tell them that, okay, there was insecurity, that is why I was away, give me another chance? I hope that things will calm down.
No, first and foremost, the people have themselves to be blamed for electing people who will not represent them.
But how would you know?
Because, when it comes to elections, the number of people who vote doesn't really matter. It is the person who votes that matters. So if in a constituency that 100 people are supposed to vote, only 10 come and vote, they vote for some candidate, that candidate has won automatically. Though he, in all the sense of it, is not really representative. And that's why it may be what you think. It will be that type of absentee landlord. He will never be there. But you see, those who know that they were voted by the people and they represent what the people want, those guys are back home all the time. Notice it. You can check it out. Check that out. Especially of parliamentarians and senators. Those who know that they were voted by people, they're always there. But with mayors, mayors are voted by the councillors.
Yes.
So the number is reduced and the risk of exposure of elections is very much reduced.
Yeah, but the people voted the party.
Yes, they voted the party and the party voted the mayor. So at the end of the day, some mayors are there. I know the city mayor, Mamina, is in Mamina, has never left. The city mayor, Mr. Chobang Paul, he's there, he's never left. Some mayors, and they go to their offices every day. They never move away from the offices. Some don't. The problem is, why don't you? Why don't you? Why do you take that responsibility if you know you cannot handle it? He did it for his own personal gain, not for the gain of popularity, because whenever you're going for elections anywhere, it's a sacrifice. You're sacrificing yourself to serve the people, notwithstanding any odds. So if you cannot serve the people, you cannot do that sacrifice, it's not worth going in for it. That's why from the beginning I said, look, those who can't be there should resign. Those chiefs who cannot go to the palace should abdicate. The village should get some other person better who can handle it. It's going to the village cannot stay without a chief. If you abdicate, they know you abdicated, another chief will be voted in by the traditional means. If you are mayor, you cannot stay in a mayory.
Municipality.
Municipality. You cannot stay in a mayory municipality. You should resign, and a new mayor will be voted. As easy as that. Somebody will do it better than you will be there. So why stay on the post that you know that you yourself you cannot assume it? It doesn't make sense. And at the end of the day, those things don't go along party lines. It's not party any longer since you've been elected. You are people. You are responsible. The people voting are responsible. The councillors, if they allow a mayor who is not on seat and you still keep him, they took a part of the responsibility. How can you do that? This fear factor that has been used in this crisis is what has made the society look like that. Fear factor. And even in the Bible, the worst thing God always said, never be afraid. Fear
not.
Fear. When you have that fear, you can't do anything. Everything goes wrong. That's what the devil counts on, fear, and nothing else. And that's what those guys in crisis were counting on, frightening people. Kill a few and frighten the rest. But I always say this. Our guns were taken. And I'm very certain if those guns were not taken, this thing should have been like this, because I know people were so armed that those boys would never come around their houses or around the area because they were ready. But those ones will take it away, unfortunately, but it take it away at a bad time. Okay, it has happened, but what do? Let's encourage those who can go back to go back. Let's copy from those who are staying on the ground to find out how have they been doing it. Copy the example, it will work. Because if your brain is saturated, you don't have ideas, go to somebody who has ideas to give it to you.
How prudent is it for these funds and mayors to go back to?
Well, it's really challenging.
And when we say here that they are the
very
ones,
difficult, really.
Yes, when we say they are the ones who provide security, how can they provide security?
No, I want to say that maybe before we move to an end, we may be shooting at one. This is just one part of the crisis. Okay, those mayors, those our chiefs, the parliamentarians, they have a blame. Of course, we have other elites. We have the Amber Boys themselves. Here we are actually shooting the bullet to one party, but I don't think that they have the sole responsibility to bring back calm in those areas. I think the government, the president of the republic, to be more precise, Barrister spoke there of it doesn't matter the number of persons who vote. That if 2 persons or 3 are to vote a parliamentarian, he is a parliamentarian. Of course, if 2 persons vote him, he is a parliamentarian, but he will not be the parliamentarian of those 2 persons. He will not be the parliamentarian of the 3 who voted him. He will be parliamentarian of the whole of that constituency. If he has to be with 5,000 people, he is parliamentarian of those 5,000 people. And if he's a senator, he's a senator of the nation. No longer for those people. Same like our president, Mr. Pobia was voted with, there was 6.8 million registered voters, 2.4 million, 2.5 million voted, and 2 million voted for him. But he is the president of every Cameroonian. He's not the president of those 2 million persons. So I think that the president of the republic has the responsibility, because the integrity of the state of Cameroon is his duty. He has the responsibility, just like he said in the UN 22nd of September 2017, that nous sommes devenus les mendiants de la paix. He should check his books. What has he not done right as of the moment that this crisis has not stopped? There have been dialogue. Of course, the national dialogue held, it did not stop. They have created commissions, the multicultural and bilingualism commission, it did not work. The DDR, we are getting some results, of course. What more should he do? He should now turn his cards, meet his advisors, probably listening to the people. And I think, since this crisis started, if the president of the republic had just taken the initiative to visit these regions, I mean, if the president of the republic should visit Manfe or Ndop tomorrow, there will be serious change and there will be dialogue, and I mean, people will be happy just for the fact that he has come, and he's the father of the nation, and he's supposed to come and see things for himself, know how severe this crisis is, and that will also give him a clue on how to go about solving it. So while we are talking about the chiefs, we are talking about the parliamentarians, we are talking about our senators returning back, the civil servants returning back, we should also be asking our president to do something he has not done. I should not be the one advising him. He's the president of the people of Cameroon. Yeah, I'm advising him already that he should go. But maybe he will have his own cards to play, because he's a politician, of course. I know that he's a politician. So me, as a person, I am asking that the president of the Republic of Cameroon should visit the Northwest and Southwest regions. Yeah, if he can go there, he will tell something about the others who have not been going. And I think if he announced that he is coming next week, all of them will be in our regions, and they will start seeing how to talk with the people and bring them to meet him, and there should be some form of dialogue. I mean, the destruction has been too much, and I don't think remaining in Yaoundé can help him have a better picture of this crisis, because we cannot trust the people who are giving him reports. are these elected persons we are talking about who don't even live in those regions. So how can he have an authentic report? How can he get the clear picture when he himself has not gone down to meet his people, some of whom voted him? There are about 80,000 votes from the Southwest. From the Northwest, there were more than 64,000 votes. It means that Cameroonians from those regions voted for him. And of course, to boost the military who are into this, they are the persons directly exposed to the crisis. Him going there as a commander-in-chief of the armed forces is a booster to them. And it brings some reassurance to the common man that we are. So while we are asking our representative to come back, I am taking this opportunity to ask the President of the Republic of Cameroon, who is a guarantor of peace and security in this nation, because he is a guarantor of the Constitution, of course, the Republic of Cameroon, he should visit those regions. He should visit them and get a picture of what is happening and call persons and talk with them.
You mean official visit? Because
of course, it can be official, it can be unofficial, but I am talking about official visit.
Okay.
That Cameroonians from every part of the nation will be waiting to listen and see. Of course, this crisis is crumbling our nation. It's touching every region. This crisis in the Northwest and Southwest, and of course, to solve it, there is need for the president to move to the Southwest, to move to the Northwest, not to Boya and Bamenda. But if he goes there, that's okay. At least it's a step. But he should go to Kumba. He should go to Ndop. He should go to Kambe and see the life of the people. Probably in an armored car, walk through the roads which have been destroyed, so that he will see how people are struggling to carry a bag of groundnut from Benakuma to come to Bamenda.
But that's not where the problem is.
No, that's where the problem starts.
The problem is those carrying guns.
No, the problem starts from the fact that people are not satisfied. It begins from the fact that people are not satisfied.
Who are watching, who are raising the question that, okay, we want these guys to go back, but some of the homes of the mayors have been burnt down. They have not been repaired. The phone of Bambaland is in captivity as we speak.
Yes.
Is that not a pointer to the fact that their security to some extent, because and he was taken in his village the day he decided to go to Bamaland. That's the day he was taken.
Because he was not in his village, he decided to go.
Yes.
And he went in a style that you and me know. He went in a style that was not very appropriate in any case. But that notwithstanding, to me the issue is not the people. The issue is those carrying guns. If you bring the issue to those of the people, you get it all wrong.
Barrister,
because let me tell you, hold on. You cannot dialogue with somebody who is carrying a gun. You come and say, put the gun on the table. Your eyes will be on that gun, not on what he's saying any longer. That's the problem. Your eyes will be on that gun every day. Like, this guy can pick it up, let me be ready. And not on what he's saying. The president said, yes, dialogue is a good thing. I like it, I want it. I've showed you my own example. Drop those guns. Go to those centers, because the consequences, people don't know. You see people carry guns and see blood, you think it's an easy thing. Go to those centers and get rehabilitated to be in a position to be capable of talking and dialoguing. The problem is them, not the population. They scare the population more than the military. Let me put it that way. Yes, the military they do funny things, which is not all over the world. You see policemen even in America shooting civilians for nothing. They're armed. The civilian will not arm, you kill him. It happens the world over. There are guys who are in the military who are not very normal, who can do abnormal things at times. Yes, it's possible. But there, when the military does it, the government knows how to treat it. But with these Amber boys, when they do this, who treats them? Who punishes them for atrocities? They are not there to fight, but they are there to hurt you and me. If you don't say you want cessation, they'll kill you. If you don't say you want cessation, they kill you. Is that how they will succeed? They will succeed to kill all those who want cessation before they take over? And let me tell you something, if the government wanted to eliminate those guys, the bloodshed that will happen in this country will never be forgotten. I'm happy that the president never decided to go to outright war. If you notice, the day the army raids a camp, everybody there runs. They cannot stand the army. Don't mind all the bravado they are saying, all those things you are saying. If the army says, okay, this thing is finished, the bloodshed that will be Cameroon, nobody will ever forget. And I'm sure that's why the president doesn't want an outright war. I've known military people who took initiatives to go attack the Amber Boys. They were giving queries. That who sent you? They level everybody in the camp, kill. Because they cannot fight. The army is trained. Those guys are dropped, and they're gone happy. Maybe they might have a few specialists, but the rest of them are just riffraffs. They know nothing about warfare. We saw what happened in Sudan. That is warfare. You hear the type of guns that are being shot into even the population, because if they know the military guy is in this building, they'll bring down the whole building just to kill that military one. They will not give a damn who dies with him. That is war. So far, we don't have that yet because the president had done everything, so there should be outright war. That's why he's having support from the international community. Because if we went to outright war, it should be terrible. Just imagine what would happen. Just say it's my example. When they come to the camps, all those guys run. When they come to the camp and say, "Oh, wait them, they are shooting in the air." Wait them, as the army comes out, they take off because they cannot stand. They cannot fight the war.
Yes, but we are talking about these guys returning to their respective constituencies and municipalities. But isn't it also time for the communities to call on whosoever is carrying a gun to let these guys work? Because after all, they're working for the growth of our communities. Why target them?
Mr. Leo, what you just raised is a very important factor, but it's also one of the reasons why so many IDPs, we have them all over the place. I think this crisis, right, I just talked about the President of the Republic because I believe he should have other strategies in his storeroom to solve this because he has that responsibility. But more importantly, the people have the responsibility and the ability to stop this crisis more than any other person. Now, how do the people have that? First, either they denounce these guys carrying gun, because this crisis was not there before. We had the military before. We were not concerned about them killing us. The fact that they came into our dwellings is because of the fact that people actually carried guns, even though they came before when it was not the case. But they have the responsibility to denounce because they know everybody. Most of these fighters are in villages where you know that this child belongs to this family and this one belongs to this family. But the people also have the responsibility to vote out the president if the president cannot guarantee the integrity of the state. So that's where the people have the power in either denouncing or voting out the leader, because the president of the republic and the Cameroon government has the power to solve this crisis, either by outright war, as he is saying, which we don't want, because we know that there are more civilians have died more than the insurgents. More have died. So we don't want the hard way. But there are other ways, like I just raised the issue of traveling down to those regions. It has a role to play. Because there are those guys carrying gun that will say that they talk the thing since we on a fight, if they begin on a time, why they never even can see. It has a role to play. There are some of these guys who can even have a level of assurance to drop their gun with the president being around, that they are scared of the military. There are some of them. We are living in those regions. I'm telling you, I've been in Boya since 2017. So I'm not saying something like somebody who is coming from space. I'm traveling to places in the region almost for the past maybe two months or so. I've not been traveling almost every week. I leave Boya, I go to Ekok, I go to Manfe, I go to Kumba, I go to other places. So the people can solve this crisis by denouncing or by voting the president out. Because the president has a responsibility to keep Cameroon intact. because that's the reason why we voted him. His first obligation is to uphold the constitution. And how does he preserve the constitution? It's by preserving the state, because the state is abstract. It's human beings which give it its substance. The second part, and of course that will be easier, is a call for a dialogue. Sometimes I write a lot on Facebook. I've said, who should we dialogue with? But call a dialogue. Let nobody come. Call it. Call a genuine dialogue. We don't want something that some CPDM big guns, some retired governors and ministers will be coming, and then they are talking about, some intellectuals are talking about theories, and the people who are facing the situation have nothing to say. We want a dialogue in Buea. We want a dialogue in Bamenda. We want a dialogue in our divisional headquarters. Call the people of Buea, for instance. They should gather at the headquarters and discuss. You don't need to involve a minister who will come there, and because of his presence, even some people will not be able to talk because they are scared of repercussion after. Call dialogue at level of villages, just like he said. It begins with the chief. Yes, we want that, but we think that with the president initiating, there will be something better. Okay. There will be peace, and of course Cameroonians, even those fighting, they love this nation. I can tell you that I was watching football match during the Nation Cup in Buea. I mean, I did a video. It was crazy. Okay. On Ghost Town Day, I'll just end with that. When Cameroon was playing at the match that ended 3-3, I think the World Cup. I mean, Buea was bars were open. Even persons who always lock their doors, they were open on that Ghost Town Day, and people were shouting and went mad. So there is love for this nation, even by those carrying the guns. We just need to come and talk.
Hello, Prime. A nice day today. I think the truth is to bring another dialogue and solve this issue. I said so because these are all effects and consequences of this war. If I were to find myself amongst the Amber Boys and they noticed I'm in support of the one Cameroon government, that's trouble. And if I find myself amongst the gendarmes and they thought I'm a separatist, it spills trouble. Some of the civil servants would save their lives first. These days, it's almost like there is no much difference between mayors and their bases in those and those based on results. Okay, so I think our media houses should hold multiple programs and debates, pushing the government for another dialogue with many more stakeholders involved. If the chief commander of the armed forces commands his forces in Kumba or Bamenda from Yaoundé, would you blame the senator who copies him? I beg, Sir Leo, please read my message. Oh, that's why I read your message. Yes, Barrister Julius, representing the CPDM, thank you for coming. We are ending the show.
Well, thank you once more for inviting me here today. Please, my brothers who are carrying the guns, I'm begging you to drop those guns. Let peace reign. Don't listen to those guys abroad. We are the ones living in Cameroon and feeling the pinch. And whether you like it or not, Cameroon is becoming more integrated and undivided and indivisible than ever before, because the population is now mixed. And whether you like it or not, Anglophones have a place in the society, even in the Francophone zone now. So I'm begging you, this thing about wanting to fight, this thing wanting to secede is a myth. It can never work. Take it again from me. There's nothing like international community, because can you imagine the Cameroon army is going to march during the coronation of the King of England? So Britain was the guy in charge of managing our own side of Cameroon. If the Cameroon army is going to march before the King in England, who do you think you are to break this country? Come to your senses before it becomes too late.
Okay, thank you, Stephen Mambo, for coming.
I am glad I came, Mr. Leo. I just want to say to whoever is listening to me out there that, especially my Anglophone brothers and sisters, that the next president of this country will be coming from our regions. And it's important for us to begin coming together, heal our regions. Nobody will do the magic for us. It's for us to see the humanity in us and begin loving one another. For those carrying guns out there, I have this message for you. You can stop that even right away. You can just stop that, and let's galvanize ourselves together and prepare for 2025, because we will have an Anglophone sitting there who will take care of the problems of every Cameroonian as it should be. Thank you.
Okay, we also want to thank you who took off time to watch this edition of the program, especially those of you who sent the messages, so many of them. We could not go through all of them. We want to thank Eli and Desmond for producing the program throughout the week, and to you, Tabi, Tambe Bryant, supervising the work we do out here. It is a Friday, and also the beginning of a weekend. We pray that you all have a wonderful weekend under God's guidance. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.